Everyone, I have an announcement to make. I like Bubsy. Oh god. I wish I never said that on the internet. Okay, yes, I do like Bubsy. Yes, I am excited for Bubsy 4D. It looks genuinely good. Atari, don't mess this up. And also, I have played some of the Bubsy games before. Let's get into this. Bubsy and Close Encounters of the Third Kind is a 2D platformer released on the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis in 1993. The game was developed within Accolade, and the whole project was started by Michael Berlin. Rest in peace. I think Bubsy 1 is my favorite okay game in the world. It's not great, but it's not the worst, and I found some things I liked about this game when I actually played it for the first time, and found that the game was not as bad as I heard people say. Doesn't mean I found it to be the best game ever. No, I found this to be a game that, if it had a little more time in the oven, this probably would have been a pretty good game. I wanted to talk about what I liked about this game, what I think the stages did good and bad at, the music, and also what I don't like about the Genesis version. Also, this video would have come out later, but they just announced Bubsy 4D at the time of writing this, so I gotta get this video out soon, so here we go! One thing I gotta say before anything else, I think this is a pretty strong title screen. Like with the box art, which, before we move on, this is the box art. I mean, I like it. Anyway, the title screen kind of catches your attention like Sonic. And less like the box art, I feel it's a little less try-hardy. And it sort of ties back with the story told in comic form in the manual. Here's the manual. I kind of feel some aspects don't get enough credit. Other aspects don't need it, but a comic is a really cool way to tell the game's story. This was back in the day when games still told the story of a game through the manual. Okay, well at this point it's slowly phasing out. I would have read it out, but it would have taken too much time. Here's a quick version. The story is that these aliens called the Woolies find the biggest collection of yarn to use for, something. Then they go to Earth to steal the yarn for, something. And they also steal Bubsy's entire yarn collection and throw him out the riffraff door. He gets sent into the stratosphere. And then, like, cut before the next panel, and then cut to the game. See, like, that's really cool how it sort of ties together with this. At least if you cut the sort of unfunny end bit. Also, before I continue, I just want to say, I like the concept of how the rest of the manual is sort of just written by Bubsy. Like, you might not like it, but the concept of just, like, the main character explaining the game mechanics and other things is really neat. And it can add to the character's personality. Oh god. Anyway, pressing select on Super Nintendo or C on Genesis brings you to the options screen. You can change options like 1 player or 2, sound options including a music only mode, a password enter screen for areas. You can even look at the credits. Also, like, the music in the Super Nintendo version is really catchy. It's so bouncy. Don't talk to me about the Genesis version of the music. I'm not ready to talk about it. Just take a listen real quick. Let's start the game.
What could possibly go wrong?
This is the line that started it all. Both Bubsy's catchphrase and one of the big criticisms of this game today. When you start a stage on the chapter screen, Bubsy will say a line. How funny the lines are does vary between each other.
More like a bridge too short.
Not all of them are golden. Also, when you die, it will play the chapter screen again. The tragedy here is that it was probably something the developers wanted to be like a "I know you can do it" type of thing. Ends up being one of the more annoying parts of this game. While I do like some of these lines, like, they can sometimes be so stupid that it's funny.
Hey, whatever blows your hair back.
Or maybe it's the way he says the line sometimes.
Somebody dial 911.
I think one of the big things they could change is, instead of having Bubsy say the exact same thing again, have it so he doesn't say anything after the first time. Or maybe add some more lines, and when they're all used up, stop him from speaking. Or you could just not cut back to the chapter screen. I already know what chapter I'm on, I don't always need to be reminded. I could see this being fixed in maybe the second game. I don't want to talk about it yet. Anyway, Controls. You can run with left or right. You can jump with A or B, and glide with X or Y. Also, pressing the glide button while Bubsy is on the ground makes Bubsy do a short hop before gliding. I haven't really heard anyone else mention this. So there you go, another important move for Bubsy's platforming arsenal. You can also look left and right with the shoulder buttons on Super Nintendo. If you're on Genesis, you hold the C button and press left or right. And up and down with up and down, you don't need to press any other buttons. You can also crouch by pressing down. Those are the controls. Now, how they feel. Bubsy feels a little slippery. Well, really more just slippery. They almost got the physics down. I'll give them that. You gain momentum gradually. You go slower going up slopes if you don't have the speed. And you gain momentum faster going down slopes. And even surpass the base fast speed. You can even just tap left or right and gravity will do the rest for you. When you change directions, when you're running fast, you skip before changing directions like any character that runs fast. Actually, going back through the footage of this game, I think Bubsy, skids way too much. Even, the slightest movement change, you can see it, he skids way too much, and that might attribute as to why Bubsy feels so slippery. I don't know, it's just something I noticed. I don't think Sonic skids as much as Bubsy does. Even they knew when, okay, what speed should we set it to where Sonic actually has to slow down before turning around. Like that. Your jump is also affected by momentum. They did pretty well when making these physics. The main issues are both the slippery feel and some, if not most, of the stage layouts. As much as I do enjoy these stages sometimes, most of them don't feel like they're well made for the character. I think what they wanted were stages with a mix of speed and platforming. You can choose either to zoom through the whole stage or take your time and find secrets. At best, these stages are okay, but at worst, they're not very good. Oh, before I forget, the way the jump works is very weird. I'm used to it by now, but it's it's not like other general jumps where you can influence the movement of the jump pretty fluidly, like in Mario and Sonic, it's sort of physics-based. It's more like you're controlling two speeds of the jump direction. They took the Mega Man jump and applied it here. It feels really weird. Now when you glide, this is nullified and the air control becomes exactly Mega Man-like, which with the high speeds, this just feels awful. Man, this should have been more momentum based, like your standard Sonic jump or Mario jump. Anyway, stages and other aspects. Okay, well, more like worlds, or, well, areas. Area 1, the village. This first area is set in a town setting, one taken over by the Woolies. The main gimmick here is that there are these trees that launch you into the air. If you hold the jump button while using these, you will go higher. Also these bridges that Bubsy extends, but I didn't find a whole lot of them. They were mainly on the bottom route, but they were pretty far and few between. I think they're neat. Anyway, besides those gimmicks, which isn't always going to make a stage better automatically by just existing, other than that, this might be the most okay stage in the game. At least when you know the stage. This is a big issue with all the stages, no sugarcoating it. While in other games, your very first playthrough of a stage doesn't always make it bad, you're still new to it. But in those cases, the stages are well made. In this game, with its problems, it does make it a lot harder to tolerate the stages at many points. The problems at hand, number 1, the collisions, specifically with hazards. Collision detection between Bubsy and the enemy is not amazing. Even me, a guy who does enjoy this game, think I should not have gotten hit by an enemy I barely made contact with. Maybe you can make the collision box a bit smaller on Bubsy, redesign it, maybe do that with the enemies. Look, I'm just throwing ideas at the wall. This does also work in the opposite way, especially with the glide. There would be a lot of times where it would seem like I would get hit, but then I destroy the enemy, and sometimes I would find it funny. Number 2, one-hit deaths. Bubsy is fragile. Even with the one power-up that should have Bubsy invincible, Bubsy is fragile. I'll get to the power-ups in a minute. Point is, one-hit deaths end up teaching the player to play more carefully in a bad way. I know that faulty collision detection can also do that, but seriously, with one-hit deaths, it becomes a big issue. One fix for this: add a health bar and health regenerative items. They did this in the second game, and that's all I will say. I gotta keep talking about Bubsy 1. Or shield item. You can have a shield item. There might be a chance that they didn't want to add a shield item because they didn't want too many similarities with Sonic. Is that stupid to think? Number 3, the camera. It is very zoomed in. There's no way around that. But that's just one issue that you can deal with until you learn that the camera doesn't follow you up vertically in the up direction. I want to chalk this up to a programming mistake because every other direction is fine, and when you bounce off of things, the camera does follow you up properly. But I don't know how this even happened with just the jump. It makes it a lot harder for you to watch out above without looking up first. This isn't something you want for your platformer. Number 4. Fall damage. There is fall damage in this game. No beating around the bush. This shouldn't have been included. What makes this even stupider is the fact that you can completely nullify this by gliding. Even I think the fall damage is stupid, and it does ruin the exploration part of this game. Look, I do like Bubsy 1. It can be fun at points. It can be charming on Super Nintendo. But even I draw the line at pointless fall damage. But hey, since I mentioned fall damage and showed you the fall damage animation, there are many death animations in this game. Some of them are cool, some are pretty funny, all trying to emulate the old Looney Tunes and their expressive animation. Oh, one more thing about the death animations. I appreciate that they don't take up too much time. They just take a couple seconds and then you respawn. You might not like how long it takes, and that's fine. Just appreciate that it's better than Bubsy 2. I'm far off track. I barely talked about the village. I like how it looks. The art style of this game isn't bad. Some design choices aren't too bad either. Of course, sometimes certain objects blend into the environment. Objects could be mistaken for others. I've heard this gumball machine be mistaken for a checkpoint. Let me be the one to tell you. It's these giant exclamation marks that are the checkpoints. That doesn't mean I don't want these gumball machines removed. No, they are stupid. This is the only area with gumball machines, so don't worry. Some parts of this town I like. The bottom route is really hilly and it feels like you're running around a village. These manhole lids that pop out of the ground can hurt you, yes, but I do like that if you're on one, when it shoots off the ground, it launches you into the air. It also allows you to enter the sewer area to find more yarn balls and such. At least in the first chapter. I think they just wanted this to be a fun little explorative part of the area, but I think the part of it that sends you back to the start is pretty rage-inducing. I've never had it happen to me normally, because I've never really been down there. I know it's happened to many. I don't think they intended this to be bad. I think they just wanted something for the player to explore. This game has quite a lot of secrets and areas to explore, which is honestly pretty cool. It's like they wanted to add some cool stuff for people who want to explore the stages. The issue, however, is everything I mentioned before about the problems at hand. It's always fun to put secrets in your game for people to find. I remember the one part of Area 1 in like Stage 3. We're going into this tunnel, you find like it's flooded, but then when you go through this doorway, it sends you to another part with a secret switch that if you switch it, it drains the water and then you can get, I think, a 1-up. There's also a lot of lives and a few continues you can find around the stages. Actually, I think I've only found a small handful of continues in certain chapters, but they exist. Oh, one more thing I like, the houses. They don't really do anything other than exist, but I do like how they look. I think they're neat. Oh, also the bridges. I think they're really cool. Just jump on this part and Bubsy expands the bridge for you to run across. I would have liked to see them a little more, like, integrated into the stage. And you don't really see them a whole lot, it's just in the bottom part. And you really just have to jump on the wheel part and then Bubsy expands the bridge for you. There's not really, like, any part of it that requires you use your movement or any ability you have. Like these things in Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Mania where you use your spin dash to raise these things. I think that might make it more interesting. Also, this is something I need to mention for all the stages that don't have a boss at the end. The way the goal works in this game is really interesting. You can just walk past it like normal and get a normal goal, but the faster you run by it, the more yarn balls that come shooting out for you to collect. This works really well if you're needing a little more yarn to get your 1-up. I'll get into how many yarn balls you need for a 1-up later. Okay, what I don't like, these water slide things. The water... Hold on, the manual has a name for them, I'm sure. Oh, they're called water slides. Honestly, they're fine, and they are kind of cool sometimes, but if they're given such a fun name, then why do these things cut from the fun, bouncy music to this? Like, the water slides are okay, they're not awful. I think that this song probably made to give you the idea of how much Bubsy hates water really ruins the experience. Dry clean only is a very annoying mood breaker more than anything. Also, the screen flipping effect. It's okay on Super Nintendo and actually kind of trippy. On Genesis, it's like the effect wasn't developed any further than flipping the screen. The background stops moving and it really messes with my brain. The banana crates they're not horrid, at least they play a funny sound effect. These are in other stages, they're just here to make Bubsy slip around. The stupid part is, if you run into a wall while slipping, you just die. These sewer entrances, I mean, they're meant for exploration, but sometimes they lead to water if you're not looking. Stupid beginner's traps. I want to mention the water pits on top of that. When Bubsy lands in a water pit, he sinks like a rock. Now, it's not too egregious here. Later on it is that, but here, like, it makes some sort of sense. You can't see through the water, so it doesn't look like you want to jump in. Like, that at least makes some sense. It won't later, but for now it's just like, that's really it. There's also thumbtack crates which spawn thumbtacks on the ground. One fact about Bubsy, he will pop if he touches anything spiky, including thumbtacks. Well, also these anvil crates, which brings me to, I hate this hitting the wall animation. It takes up so much time. This does not appear in really a lot of Sonic games, and when it did, while it was still annoying, the animation plays a lot faster than this one. Also, you could just not have this with the regular running, and only have it when Bubsy slips on a banana peel into a wall, and not have him die. That at least makes a lot more sense. Anyway, that's all I have to say about this stage. Oh, power-ups. There are 2 power-ups in this game. Shadow Bubsy and Super Bubsy. Shadow Bubsy makes Bubsy invisible to enemies for a couple of seconds. I like how they make him look in the Super Nintendo version. There aren't really any issues with it. It's cool, and it has a very groovy theme. Super Bubsy is a little worse. The manual says that okay, so the manual got me here. I thought the manual did say that it would make Bubsy invincible, but apparently, while yes, it does specify that it makes him invincible only to enemies, which, you know, with a name like Super Bubsy, it makes you think that it would make him, you know, full-on invincible. I don't like this power-up because what it ends up becoming is a mockery to invincibility power-ups. At least the theme is pretty good. Wait, this sounds like Batman. Now the boss. So all the bosses in this game are pretty much the Woolly UFOs, except the final boss being the Woolly Queens Polly and Esther. Please laugh. And these bosses range from okay to frustrating. All the bosses have the same weakness and can be beaten the same way, getting the high ground before they attack and gliding into their weak points until they go down. I do want to give props to the first boss and some of the other bosses for at least resembling a proper boss. Also, later bosses range in difficulty, but a lot of the main issues come down to how they're designed, which is half okay and half not. I think the idea for this boss was for the player to dodge attacks and jump on the boss when they're low enough, but it's much easier to just get the high ground first and then keep gliding into the boss. Also, this is an issue with every boss. The game speeds up for every hit the boss takes. I think they just wanted to speed up the music and or attack speed, but couldn't figure out either during development or in time before release. I don't know. Anyway, beating the boss gives you the password for the next stage. Alright, we're moving on to the Area 2, the fair. This is the most Sonic-like stage in the game. And also, this is where it's revealed that I think Bubsy is an Elvis fan.
Hey, I I thought I saw Elvis back there.
I mean, they also have him saying lines like this in the dumb Taco Bell TV pilot, so yeah, Bubsy is canonically an Elvis fan. The main gimmick here are these roller coaster tracks and carts. You can run on the tracks, which really show off Bubsy's speed. You can also ride these roller coaster carts up the tracks. You just don't want to land in front of them. Also make sure to jump out before they reach the end as you fall with them. Sorry. Starting with the positives, again, the coaster tracks. I like their inclusion. They're cool. Again, they help show off Bubsy's speed, which later stages barely use. So, I guess, enjoy it while it lasts if you want. The roller coaster carts too, they are pretty cool. You jump in one and you ride up the coaster track, but again, you don't want to land in front of the coaster or run into one because you'll die. Also, jump out before you run out of track. There's also these giant strength test trampolines. I gotta feel bad for the guy who takes their date to this place. I mean, look at how big these are. I say trampolines because you can jump on them and they send you higher. And the higher you jump from them, the higher you bounce. And yeah, I haven't really found a lot I like about the stage. It's even more okay than the first stage. Of course, what I don't like, the negative parts of the roller coaster carts, they can be annoying. I don't really like how at some parts there's just like, it's just a giant death pit full of spikes. I don't know what else about the stage I don't like other than some of the enemies. There are a lot of enemy types in this game for the main enemies, the Woolies. You have the standard standing enemies, they just stand there and blow raspberry at you. Yeah, that's what this is supposed to be. I only found this out after seeing gameplay of Super Bubsy, a port of this game to PCs by ATI Graphics. I mean, it doesn't really look like they're sneezing, they're holding that pose way too long to be sneezing. The sound effect does kind of sound like sneezing. Then there are the jumping enemies that jump in place or in this pattern, left, right, left, then they pause for a second. If they notice you, they'll blow raspberry at you during this pause. This is true for all enemies. Sometimes they also don't do that. Then the enemies that throw projectiles, there are 3 versions of this type. There's the standard ones that throw the projectiles really fast, then these guys that use catapults, and one type I'll mention a lot later, but also one I'll mention soon. This is where I bring up that there are too many points where you get hit by a projectile off screen, and it gets pretty annoying. Again, it forces you to play more carefully when both your character is fragile, and these enemies throw projectiles way too fast, making it incredibly hard to just jump around these. How could you fix this? I mean, maybe they could have it so they don't throw things until they appear on screen. Change the speed they throw the 3 projectiles so that it's more fair to dodge them. I don't know. There's also these walking enemies. They will walk one way, at least until they reach the edge of a platform where they can't jump off of them. At least not safely. When they pick the way they walk, it will always be towards you. One more type of the projectile throwing type, or well, they're not really throwing it. They're really dropping them from above. Also, they have the same issue of off-screen projectiles that are unfair. One more thing about the Woolies. You may have noticed that they're wearing hats now. This is because each area the Woolies get a new themed outfit, and I think that's a fun idea and very neat. I don't know if any of the other games do this. Now, about how the stage looks, it's nice. Still those blending into the background issues though. But I found this mainly to be with the yarn balls, so it's not too bad, but still stupid. Oh, speaking of the yarn balls, if you collect 500 yarn balls, you get an extra life. Honestly, it should have just been for every 100, really. I'm not even sure how many people know of this. I know it's on the Wikipedia page and also maybe the Bubsy wiki. But who's going to the wiki page to find this out? I sure didn't know this was on the wiki page before. The way I found out it's 500 yarn balls is because I have played this game for longer than maybe every YouTube reviewer. And also every normal person. There are also some secrets and such, less than the village, and even less than level 1 sewer system that can send you back to the beginning, so yeah. That section not being here is already an improvement. Here's how to get the continue in this area, at least the one I know how to get. I don't know if there are others. In Chapter 5, there's this top route you can go on that has an extra life. There are also the projectile enemies, so watch out for those guys. At the very end of this path, there's a door. Enter it and you get the continue. And also a secret bonus stage. These doors, or caves as the manual says, I forgot to mention, they can teleport you to basically whichever door or cave they're connected to. They're just okay. Some send you back in the stage, which isn't always fun, but some of them teleport you to a bonus stage where you can collect more yarn balls and lives, and it has the best implementation of the water slides because it does not play the dry clean only theme, so these are automatically the best water slides in the game. These stages also use the main theme in them. I mean, they were sort of a last minute addition, but honestly they're pretty okay. Not really perfect, but they're not downright awful. Boss time! You could say this is the exact theme that describes this video. It's really just a harder version of the first boss, which again, you can trivialize by getting the high ground, as with all the bosses in this game. I don't really have anything else to say, it's just sort of different. Now on to Area 3. Wow, look at how far you've made it in this video. Like, honestly, I'm shocked. Like, honestly, like, this is really cool. And if you've also been watching this video straight, you're not looking at anything else. You've just been watching this video straight and haven't clicked off. Your attention span is awesome. And here's your reminder that if you're really liking this video, like, subscribe, comment. Area 3, the Wild West. The gimmick of this stage is, well, I like the idea. The gimmick is that you have to stop the train you're on, and then the next section is spent in the canyon. That's an interesting idea. In execution, the stage progression is Bubsy is on a train. He stops the train. He jumps into the canyon, finishes the stage in the canyon, then gets on another train, repeat 2 more times, except on the second repeat have the boss at the end and end this area. This should have just been 2 acts. Like, it should have adopted a sort of Sonic 3 act formula before Sonic 3. That being 2 acts, one spent in one area of the zone, and then one spent in another. Doesn't that sound a little better? Doesn't that have a better flow to it? I think Sonic Mania did this better, and although the first act of that zone was a Sky Chase zone homage, there's a section where Sonic is running on a train. The difference being, I don't think Sonic ever stops the train. There are some cool things though. The giraffes are pretty cool. Look, they're wearing Sonic shoes. You can jump on their heads and they function like springs. If this is a reference, this is a very strange one. The first stage of this area, in the canyon section, there are some underground parts, but these are not, well, too fun. In some sections, you can't really see anything on account of the foreground element, and I don't think this is too bad, but then there are parts with enemies hidden behind these, and that's just, no. Like, it's not downright awful, but in other cases that aren't like this invisible maze here, why are you covering the enemies? Granted, there weren't a whole lot of moments I've seen, and it's not like that for all enemies, but maybe use the covering a bit more sparingly and only use it in moments where there aren't any enemies. Did this slowly just become about the negatives? These spike enemies. They're a form of the falling enemy type. It waits for you to get close and then BAM! But like, on top of the fact that they're kinda creepy, they're also very annoying to deal with, at least in this section. I'm trying to get the 2 up here, and these guys are here. The first one I can easily make fall down without touching it, but the second one, I need to get closer to even get it to fall. They're a lot easier to handle when you just need to run by them. Like, just gain enough speed and you can just run by them without a worry. Don't hesitate. I also want to mention these toads. They're not awful, it's just, do these look like toads to you? The manual calls them spiky toads. I see the spikes, but I don't really see the resemblance. Are you sure that's not the main computer program from Tron with spiky hair and arms? They also kind of blend into the background too. Like, early on in the game, the blending in thing wasn't too bad, but now it's becoming a huge issue. Sand sharks. Like, watch out. Quick tip, if you're ever in a difficult place and you can't really jump high, use the glide button, cause again, on the ground, it works as a short hop so Bubsy can glide at any point. It's also very helpful if you worry you can't make a small hop just under an enemy above you. These tumbleweeds are very annoying. Once you're used to them, it's just like, It's a matter of how fast they can come at you when you're running. The section has just been mainly negatives and like, the stage isn't that bad. I like the more linear train sections. They feel like a linear platforming challenge on the way to the rest of the stage. The look of this whole area is really nice, to be honest. I do like how it looks. And also the music for this area is pretty good. The train theme is, well, okay. But Then you enter the canyon and then this like really chill theme plays. Boss time. This is... well, I can see what they're going for. The way the boss should work is that you have to jump on the enemies it drops in order to reach its weak point. You've seen this type of boss before. I wish that the jump didn't trivialize this idea, but on top of that, I wish the boss didn't drop so many enemies at a time, and that the game didn't speed up for every hit the boss takes. It gets to the point where you have to get rid of them once the boss is gone for the level complete screen to even appear. Why not just get rid of all the enemies when the boss is defeated? Maybe they didn't know how to program that in? Area 4. Canada?
Yeah, I didn't like this stuff.
This isn't Canada. From what I've seen, Canada looks more like a side-scrolling beat-em-up. No, wait, that's stupid. I can't confirm what Canada looks like just because I've watched Scott Pilgrim, played Scott Pilgrim, read one volume of Scott Pilgrim, watched Scott Pilgrim 2, and then read the rest of the series. I need an actual Canadian to confirm. Oh wait, I don't really know any Canadians. Maybe Google can help? Okay, yeah, this is not Canada. It is a sham. From now on, in this video and in this video only, do not change the wiki page because the OG name is the official one. Only in this video, we're referring to this area as Banjoland, because that's where I've heard this theme play. And trust me on this one, I live 1 hour away from Banjoland. This is probably the worst stage in the game. It's some sort of water level, or how do I describe this? I was gonna say anti-water level, but that would just be, well, a regular level. The reason why is because half of the stage is covered in water, like Aquatic Ruin Zone in Sonic 2. But Bubsy can't get in water because he sinks, and for some reason, I can see through the water. It was easier just to let it go earlier because in the first area, you could not see through the water. So it was easier to just get the idea, okay, I can't jump in here. In Banjoland, I can see through the water, so it looks like I can jump in it like Sonic. Then I would jump in, Bubsy sinks to the bottom, and just gives up. Sonic also hates water, but you don't see him giving up when he's in it. At least not in the games. It just makes me wish that they made it so this water didn't look like you could jump in it. Or just let Bubsy run through the water. Or better yet, change this area. The one part of this I want to mention, this stage has a water level changing mechanic. There are these switches throughout the stage, and switching one will either lower it or raise it. It depends. When you lower the water level, you can access the lower area for like maybe 2 or so minutes. Yeah, the switches are timed. You might want to be careful because Bubsy's just going to give up the moment he's fully in water. The water slides make a return here. The theme is a little easier on the ears here. Still not fun to hear, incredibly not fun to hear. These beaver enemies are kind of annoying. They also shoot projectiles, but they're easier to dodge. As long as you're aware and can see when he's about to shoot a projectile, otherwise you're gonna get hit from off screen. Another thing to note is you're about to see more small platforms for this area and the next one. Like, these were here before, but they were pretty far and few between for the most part, and most of the smaller platforms were about as wide as you, so it was a lot easier to land on them. But the amount of them has increased, and they've also become smaller than your character. Like, it's really difficult to land on these with the given player physics. Like, you could overshoot it, undershoot it. You can't even land square in the middle properly. Okay, that was kind of funny. The voice line, not the platforms. Throughout the stage, when there's water, a log raft will float by for you to jump on, and you can take it to the end of the stage if you want. Of course, you'll have to be careful of the enemies. The flying fish and the starfish that are here for some reason are the first ones. The flying fish will either swim to one side and then jump from there back to its origin point at an arc, or swim left, right, and then jump up and fall down. The starfish that are somehow populating what is possibly a river and are living on land somehow, jump up and then float down gracefully. Those are some of the basic enemies to look out for. Then there's these eels that follow you and go under the raft in order to knock you off. Be careful of these guys. Then you have an alligator. There's no way this is Canada. I know I said I was going to refer to it as Banjoland, but with the official name in mind, there is no way. The gators will swim up to your raft and start eating it piece by piece until you fall off or you defeat it. Lastly, these turtles, who can also fly. They will come up and they will push your raft away. Those are the most notorious enemies down here. Oh, the middle route has a bunch of stuff that is a little cool. There are these spiky tree stumps you have to avoid that have one stump you can stand on. There's this giant log or tree. They have a bounce pad for you to reach the sky. These water spouts, which are new. Oh no, why do they use the same theme as the water slide? These things have a sort of platforming thing later where they constantly send you back, so you have to try and avoid them in order to reach the next section. I mean, that's a pretty cool idea. Okay, time for the easiest boss in the game. Like, literally, the hardest part might be understanding how to get to this boss. Around the end, you want to jump on a raft and take it to the end, and then the boss battle will commence. The boss is literally easy, just follow after me. See? Literally easy. I feel bad because the idea for this boss is really cool. You have to wait and jump up to damage the boss before the boss destroys your raft. Like, that's cool. I'm just glad I get a break after such a bad stage. When you beat the boss, you don't have to worry about landing on the raft afterwards. They have it so it follows your movement so you can land on it once the boss is defeated. Now, Area 5. The jungle. How did we get here?
That's it. I'm out of here. You can't make me.
I kind of find it funny that these lines that were just meant to be sort of related to the chapter names have sort of been taken out of context. Like, yeah, it's more funny to say, oh, even Bubsy knows how bad this game is, and then I actually see the context and like, oh, the joke is that Bubsy doesn't want his eye taken out because eye of the Bobcat. Yeah, let's just move on. We are on the road to the final stage now, and the music perfectly reflects that. The gimmick of the stage is that I think it's these spider webs. You use them to go up high. You're gonna need to go up high in this stage. I'm glad that after that last area, this one's a little better to deal with. My main issue is that the platforms feel claustrophobic. After like the first 3 areas, Bubsy never really gets a good area to really run around properly. Like, there's more smaller platforms than big platforms in the stage, and it makes me miss being able to reach top speed in the older areas. Not like it's the best, but when the first areas of the game feel like they're sort of made to hold that speed despite how mixed they are, and then entering these 2 areas and seeing that speed sort of get thrown to the wayside. Like, for a 1993 game, they almost got Sonic's physics down. But yeah, these platforms feel claustrophobic in the sense that these platforms don't have a lot of room to run on them. I also don't like the first stage of this area. There's not a lot of lower platforms here, so when you fall, you have to run all the way back to the closest part where you can easily jump right back up. At least this is only in the first stage. The rest of this area has more lower platforms and you don't have to waste time running back, as there's now a bottomless pit. So that speeds things up. At first I thought I could use this tree frog here to bounce up, but I just couldn't get the height. Speaking of tree frogs, the first time I saw these enemies running at me, it felt like every time I ran into an enemy in Silent Hill 2. Sometimes they just come out of nowhere, and that run cycle, like, what? It seems the way they work is that if you hit one, then a small amount of yarn balls come flying out, and I guess if you have none, you die. Honestly, thinking about this now, where was this the entire game? They programmed this function for one enemy, and then throughout the entire game you had to deal with one-hit deaths. They could have given this attribute to every enemy, and like it would also make more sense considering the Woolies are stealing the yarn, and when you get hit by them it's like they're stealing the yarn. I don't know. Like, only having it be a certain amount instead of all of it, like, yeah, it would be similar to Sonic's system, but it would have been a little more interesting, and really you needed to have something other than one-hit deaths from enemies. There's also spiders and mosquitoes and bees. The mosquitoes and bees are the worst. They're very difficult to jump on, but they're very easy to get hit by. The speed they go at too, you're gonna struggle with these guys. I think the stage also has a whole lot of enemies, which isn't, well, not always. No, it's just not good. The enemies here, a lot of them feel like they're placed in a lot of weird or awkward places, more than the first areas, which felt like they were placed a little more carefully, at least compared to around this area and the prior area. Also, with the bottomless pit in the later stages in this area, it makes the exploration part a lot harder. At least the stage looks kind of nice. Now, the boss. Earlier in this game, the bosses were fine. They were a little undermined the moment you realize every boss's weakness is you getting the high ground. Meanwhile, the ideas for the bosses were pretty good and pretty solid. Then when I got to this boss, I think this is the moment where they ran out of time and realized they didn't have a boss down. Look. So this boss is two UFOs throwing whatever at you. One drops random enemies and the other drops giant yarn balls that kill you instantly. I literally can't find a proper pattern to this boss that would make it possible. It's hard to even tell. Just get the high ground before they even attack. Preferably get rid of the boss dropping the yarn balls first. Then go for the one with the enemies. And finally get rid of the enemies left. They still haven't figured out how to program it in. This boss was painful to deal with. Now with that boss out of the way, we're at the final stretch. Area 6, the Woolie Spaceship. I can't believe it. I forgot to mention the cheese wheel rolling enemies. They roll wheels of cheese. They also sometimes come from off screen. Area 6, the Woolie... Oh no, I'm not gonna say anything else. Area 6, the Woolie Spaceship.
Well, are you still playing this thing?
I really love that line because, I initially think they wanted, a line for Bubsy to say that would make him sound impressed that you've managed to be such an awesome player. Something like a, "Wow, you did amazing," sort of reaction. What they ended up writing is a line that makes people think even Bubsy knows about how this game is. It's kind of hilarious. This area is just one stage, and it has the final boss in it. But before that, the stage is okay, but the enemies are very annoying. May I introduce to you the final type of the projectile shooting Woolie. These guys. The rate they shoot at is very hard to deal with, and quite literally it can be very unfair. You can literally see how long it takes me to even time my jump. Now, sometimes throughout the stage, I can see the kind of enemy obstacle they're going for. Like this moment with the 3 Woolie shooting stuff. I think the idea was you had to time your jumps between each one, and when I first got to this part, it looked like they were both firing at different firing intervals. No, one just fires at a faster rate than the other. And also with the zoomed in camera, it's really hard to tell when one's shooting, and also that there's 3 of them, so watch out. The timing can easily get messed up too, so watch out. There's this one part of the stage that made me feel like an idiot. When you use the first teleporter, which, by the way, it looks like Bubsy's getting disintegrated, you find the switch. And then I jumped down and I found another switch, and I thought, okay, I'm searching a mini section to find switches to change where the teleporter sends you, and no. The switches lowered these, I don't know, vats of atomic water? Vats of lava? So yeah, I was stupid for not realizing that the switches just do the same thing throughout the entire game. I do really like how the stage is sort of laid out, like you're jumping from ship to ship in order to get to the final boss. That's really cool. I just wish that there was a little more care put into how the enemies are placed. They can just come out of nowhere a lot of times. Also, maybe change the final projectile type Woolie. I don't really have much to say, other than the music, which is going. Here we are, the final boss. Polly and Esther, the queens of Rayon, are probably the most messiest bosses in the game, even more than the last one. They'll either throw a cheese wheel of doom, drop bananas for you to slide on, drop projectiles, or send a flurry of projectiles at you. You want to quickly get them and damage them as... I can't believe I forgot to mention this. All the way up to this point, when you hit a boss, they'll freeze for a bit, stopping their attacks. You'll want to keep stun locking Polly and Esther so they can't get a single attack on you. They also have probably the most boss health in the game, so it'll take you a couple more seconds than the other bosses. And that's it! You know, if you're just watching this from the outside, this ending is a little not impressive. Bubsy is doing a victory dance on what seems to be a movie set. I'm sorry, is this game saying this whole story is fiction? This is the dumbest fourth wall break I've ever experienced, and I didn't even realize it until just now. But despite that, after a whole game of varying quality, I can't deny that this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, because I beat Bubsy 1. And since I've been recording footage for this video, I beat it again. I know that I said that I did like this game, but then throughout the whole video, I feel like that didn't really show because of, well, what happened. I do like the game though. I found some of the voice lines charming and also goofy. Despite the slippery controls, it's impressive that they got pretty close with replicating Sonic's physics. Like, fine-tune how they feel and the controls might just be perfect. There are quite a bit of fun details that I feel are a little undermined, as well as some of the designs too. Some of the designs. The music on the Super Nintendo version, I feel is a little underappreciated. The best? No. But it's pretty good. For the longest time I've always heard these games were downright bad, and they aren't wrong, but some of it I feel is a little too much, and there are some fun details that I haven't seen ever mentioned at all, and for the longest time I just always went with what I heard about the game, until one day I decided maybe I should play the game. And since then, I have found my new favorite B-rate game star. You know, like a B-rate movie star. Actually, he might become A-rate soon, who knows. If you're looking to play this game, which I want to mention if anyone is interested in checking it out, you have the original Super Nintendo version. You can play it on Super Nintendo. Then there's the Perfect Collection, which is out now. And that game features the first, second, third, and fourth game respectively. Not to mention all versions of, well, the first and second game really. Well, more so the second game. Super Bubsy's not here. I'm forgetting the Genesis version. I remember when I was initially getting my first physical version of Bubsy 1 because I wanted a physical copy of the game and also a physical copy of the manual. They didn't have a copy of the Super Nintendo version, but they had a copy of the Genesis version. I got it because, like, I wanted the manual, and also I hadn't played the Genesis version before. This is my least favorite version of the game. Starting off with the music, I don't really agree with a lot of the instruments that they chose for the songs. The theme for the train sections in the Wild West, it sounds like pure noise in this version. On the game end of things, it's relatively the same. As in it's the same. I don't know, some aspects seem to go way too fast. It fades to black way too quickly. And oftentimes it means you can't really process some of the death animations. And again, the music isn't really doing it for me. Now with how the game looks, I don't really think I agree with it. The color palettes feel a lot more bland than the Super Nintendo version. To me, the Super Nintendo version feels really vibrant, and it feels more like a playable cartoon. Like, in the end of the day, like, how it looks, it's up to you. I prefer the Super Nintendo version. You can play the Genesis version if you want to. Anyway, this game was okay at best. I think it has a lot of interesting ideas, but a lot of them aren't executed the best. But this game did sell modestly well enough to warrant a sequel in accolades' eyes. You never know, maybe with a sequel they improved on the gameplay. Maybe it's even a good game. I don't want to play Bubsy 2. I don't know. Maybe at 1,000 subscribers.